Hello everyone and welcome to the June 2021 CARMA webinar that is focused on the use cases for traffic incident management, basic travel and weather. My name is Neelu Parvinashtiani and I'll be helping with the facilitating today's webinar. This webinar is sponsored by the Federal Highway Administration and hosted by the National Operations Center of Excellence, also known as NOCO. So if you don't know about us, as a quick reminder, you can check out the useful links box that you can see on the right side of your screen to browse through our resources that is intended for the transportation system management and operations community. And below that NOCO useful links box, you can also see CARMA web links that are a couple of CARMA-related resources that is relevant to this webinar. A few other logistics that I wanted to share for today's webinar is that we are recording the webinar and that recording will be available on the on-demand learning section of the NOCO website. All the attendee phones are on listen only by default, but please stay engaged and communicate with us any questions or any comments that you have throughout the webinar in the question discussion pod. We have dedicated time at the end of the webinar for a question and answer session, but please put in the questions that come to your mind during presentations in there, and then our moderator will go through those questions and will read them out loud and pose it to the speakers. So that's all I had with the logistics, and with that I'll hand it over to our moderator, Nicole Paladeau, to start us off. Nicole.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Paladeau. I'm a communications specialist with Leidos, and I will be your moderator today. Thank you all for being here. We're excited to share some great information with you and also hear your questions on the topic. So our presenters for today are Pavle from the Federal Highway Administration. Pavle is the technical manager of the CARMA program's reliability research track, where he focuses on CDA research related to traffic incident management. We also have Sudhakar from Leidos, who is a project manager for the FHWA Saxton Transportation Operations Lab. He directs CARMA projects as well as other projects in the field of connected and automated vehicles. And then we have May, also from Leidos. May is a senior software engineer supporting connected automated vehicle research, also at FHWA Saxton Lab, where she leads development of the user interface for the CARMA platform, as well as CARMA testing and evaluation. We have a quick disclaimer before we get started. This presentation was created and co-presented by FHWA and a contractor. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of FHWA or the US DOT. Our agenda for today is first an overview of connected and automated vehicles, as well as the CARMA program and ecosystem. And then we will dive into use cases for traffic incident management, road weather management, and basic travel. There will be a question and answer portion at the end of the presentation, but feel free to add any questions or comments into the chat pod as we go along, and we will do our best to address all of those at the very end. So first, we'd like to get an idea of who we have with us today. So please let us know in the chat pod where you are coming to us from, your organization, your role, or just why you are interested in this topic and are here today. So let's just take a moment to do that. Awesome, thank you everyone. Feel free to continue introducing yourselves in the chat as we go. And with that, I will hand it over to Pavle to get us started.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here today. Nicole, thanks so much for that great introduction. I'm looking at all these different, all the different people that have introduced themselves so far, and I'm excited to get to know all of you. So real quick, I'd like to, before we get started and talk about the research that we've been doing, I'd just like to give a quick overview of basically CAVs and CDA and cooperative driving automation. I assume that many of you are acquainted with some of these things, but just in case for those of you that haven't been to any of these CARMA webinars, this might give you a little bit of background. So with that, I assume that most of you are familiar with this table that we have here. It's the Sae J3216 Standard. It defines the levels of driving automation from level 0 to level 5. And over on the left-hand side, we have the blue parts, which are ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. So this is where you're still responsible for full control of your vehicle, but you have advanced systems that are able to help you. And then the green part over on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, levels 3, 4, and 5. This is where the actual vehicle drives itself, the automated driving system. And depending on your circumstances, it can drive by itself all the time or only in specific operational drive domains, depending on which level you are in. And so last year, in May 2020, the SAE released the Sae J3216 Standard. And we here at Federal Highway and Leidos and many other industry partners were a huge part and played a huge role in supporting this. And so this is basically where we take the levels of automation up at the top, and now we combine them with the levels of cooperation or the classes of cooperation, as you see here in the far left-hand column. So as you see here, we have class A, B, C, and D. And so what this means is that each level of automation can now have a feature that can require class A or class B or class C or D communication. So for example, class A is status sharing. So you could be engaged in a feature that just requires to know, here's where I am, here's my speed, here's my acceleration, and here's what I see. So, if you see something else, you want to be able to communicate this to other vehicles to allow them to engage in, for example, cooperative perception. And then after that, we have class B, intent sharing. So this is where we do all the things that we were doing in class A, but on top of that, we also will share, here's what we're going to do over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds. We're going to send out our trajectories, right? And so the reason we do that is because now we get to receive the trajectories of other vehicles and potentially be able to optimize around that, do any sort of clash detection and be able to make any changes if we think that, we'll have any close calls or incidents if we don't. And after that, we have class C, that's agreement seeking. So this is now where we're actually negotiating with vehicles. So if we're trying to merge onto a congested highway, we can negotiate with the vehicles around us to make some space for us. And then lastly, we have class D, that's prescriptive. So this is basically where we actually say, okay, we will do exactly as we were directed by somebody else. So for example, if we choose to voluntarily join a platoon, once we're a part of this platoon, we can't just go rogue and do our own thing. We say, you know what, now we're going to follow the rules of the platoon. So if the platoon rule is 1 second gaps that we're going to be keeping, we're going to do that and not have a 3-second gap, for example. And so with that, we built the CARMA program in order to be able to develop, research these cooperative driving automation technologies. So the whole purpose of the CARMA program is to leverage cooperative driving automation, to be able to leverage communication in order to increase the safety, increase efficiency of our roadways. And so the best thing or the most important thing about the CARMA program is that we realize that we can't do all this on our own. There's so many different CDA questions that we have to answer until these technologies are actually deployed on public roadways. And so with that, everything that we're doing is open source. And so you can go ahead and download all the software that we've developed and put it onto your vehicles, into your infrastructure, and be able to test it, make additional contributions even, and submit it back to us. And the reason why we do that is we want to create a community of people that are developing these CDA technologies, and then we're maximizing the benefits of other researchers. And so with that, what we'll do next is we'll get into the different ecosystems that we're currently building that will be available for you to download, and some of them are already actually available for use. So I'll hand it off to Sudhakar, and Sudhakar, you can go ahead and get into the CARMA ecosystem.
All right, thank you, Pavle. Good afternoon, everyone. So as Pavle mentioned, one of the goals of the CARMA program is to identify the benefits of cooperative automation, to understand, how combination of automation and communication technologies can promote efficiency, reduce congestion, and enhance safety of our overall transportation system. For that purpose, we have created CARMA program ecosystem, which includes a set of open source products, evaluation tools, and engagement initiatives to collaborate and work with all of you to promote cooperative automation and accelerate its adoption. We presented this ecosystem and the components in detail in several webinars, previous webinars that whose recordings are available on the NOCO website. I would encourage you to check them out if you haven't attended them before for more details. But here I'll briefly touch over each of those components, for context. I'm going to skip over CARMA products because we're going to be talking about those products in later slides. First let me briefly explain, what evaluation and engagement are. Under evaluation, we have several components. First is simulation. We have a simulation program that's ongoing. We are developing a co-simulation tool to enable CARMA research in simulation using a combination of open source tools like Carla, Sumo, and Mosaic. We are working on this, and we'll be publishing the code from this for this simulation tool very soon on GitHub. What you can find on GitHub right now is the code for simulating a CARMA vehicle in Carlo from one of our earlier efforts. So if you haven't, if you're interested in that topic, go ahead and check that out. If you want to understand, the roadmap for simulation, we presented a webinar in April, so you could check that out on the NOCO website as well. Under safety evaluation program, we are conducting research on impacts of CDA by integrating CARMA with the highway driving simulator and also testing with human subjects. Our human factors team is working on several projects, in this field. Testing is the program, helps us with the logistics of identifying test beds across the country where we can test, the CARMA, the products that we are developing, and also identify partners, where we could test with. During development, we primarily test at our Turner Fairbanks Highway Research Center campus, but during verification and validation testing, we are currently testing at various test facilities, including Aberdeen Proving Grounds. We're testing at Summit Point Racetrack here in West Virginia, and also we started to test at ACM in Detroit, for your information. We also have plans to test at SunTrax later in the summer. We'll be testing a port drayage use case, and we are also looking forward to testing with partners there in the future. And we'll be doing some public road demonstrations, I think, early next year for our integrated highway prototype. So those are our activities. All of those activities are managed through our testing program. So talking about analytics, CDA vehicles generates a lot of data. We are collecting all of this data and uploading, we created a data lake in the cloud to evaluate performance metrics for the proof of concepts that we are developing, like the use cases that we are developing, and also identify, any future benefits of this data, for furthering future research. The architecture of this big data solution, the tools used and the scripts that were used to develop the solutions are available on GitHub and Confluence. We are also working on our CARMA 1/10 program, which enables us to deploy CARMA on a 1/10 vehicle so in order to further research, because not everybody can, it makes it easier to test, because, it's easier to test it on a small size vehicle than, spending 300, 400K on a test vehicle. So we are actively working on that, and we expect to be publishing code for CARMA 1/10 as well later in the year. On the engagement, CARMA Collaborative enables us to engage with the stakeholders like you and facilitate webinars like this one, to promote collaboration and, with the community. If you are not a member of CARMA Collaborative, please reach out to us either through the chat window or through Confluence, to become a member of CARMA Collaborative. Finally, CARMA support enables users to get support for getting started on CARMA by providing we have a number of training modules, documentation, and we also have an email address to which, you could send your questions and get, the discussion started. We provide remote assistance with any CARMA activities such as installing CARMA on your vehicles or developing with us, to promote open source initiatives. Okay. So CARMA, CARMA ecosystem, we established 3 research tracks. Traffic for CDA research on recurring traffic events such as congestion, transit, and arterial management. Reliability for research on non-recurring events such as incidents, weather events and work zones, etc. Finally, the third track is freight for heavy truck research, such as for use cases like port drayage, truck platooning, and other subjects related to commercial vehicles for smooth movement of goods on our highways. These research tracks are being funded and by various USDOT partners, and we are working with all of the partners that are mentioned on this slide. Right. So now let's get into the CARMA products. So first is CARMA Cloud. CARMA Cloud is a cloud-based traffic management system that enables definition of traffic rules, for CARMA-equipped automated vehicles to follow, in response to events such as incidents, work zones, and special events. For example, to support the use cases, we created a new message called traffic control message to define geofence lane segments and the regulatory or advisory traffic controls associated with those lane segments. So such as, we could define the speeds, that the vehicle should follow, headway between the vehicles, any lane closures and vehicle restrictions on the lanes, and the schedules of those, restrictions, etc., using this message. This message is, we are using it to demonstrate the TISMO strategies, that we are presenting today, such as basic travel, TIM, and weather. These messages, we started with the HD map data for normal conditions, and we are able to dynamically superimpose the traffic control parameters on this. We are currently the current implementation of CARMA Cloud is available on GitHub, for use, and we are currently able to define these parameters manually at lane level, for use in our proof of concepts that we are going to discuss today. We are currently working on developing interfaces to work with feeds like work zone data, and also, for building traffic management center interfaces like ingesting current speed and from detectors to implement in algorithms like speed harmonization. Okay, in future, we envision that CARMA Cloud will integrate with CARMA Analytics for implementing dynamic AI ML models using live data collected from the vehicles. So looking a little bit deeper into how we define the traffic control message, we looked at the data needs of the ADS vehicles first to understand the world model that it operates in. And then we identified the various system objects involved, such as the roadway, the furniture that's on it, and other system objects, like events, etc. Then we looked at the data model that goes with each of these objects and the standards available. So like I said previously, we started with the HD map data that contains the geophysical roadway definition and the static, the definitions of various features on the roadway, such as, bridges or, signage, etc. Then, another layer on the top of that is the traffic control layer, which defines the regulatory and advisory traffic controls. This layered approach, really enabled us to define a traffic control message that can handle all of the different combinations of the traffic controls that we could, exchange with the vehicles, and also would allow us to dynamically control the definition of those attributes, to address current conditions such as, incidents or work zones. The sequence starts with the vehicle requesting for any new controls. So when a CARMA vehicle starts up and engages a route, it asks CARMA Cloud to give any controls that are associated with the route that it is taking. CARMA Cloud responds with a traffic control message with any special conditions, such as any lane changes in the lane status or speed or vehicle restrictions, etc., from normal conditions. So as I said, this CARMA Cloud code is available on GitHub, and you can find the definition of this traffic control message in ASN.1 format in GitHub if you're interested. Right. So next is CARMA Streets. In CARMA Streets provides the edge computing capabilities for implementing optimization strategies for intersection or corridor level traffic management. It also serves as the communication hub between the vehicle and the backend services like CARMA Cloud and the local ITS devices like traffic signal controllers or dynamic message signs, or depending upon the use case that is involved. The CARMA Street in the future is also going to provide the capabilities such as shared perception for any sensors that are infrastructure based, to share the information from the sensors with the autonomous vehicles. So in this case, for the TIM, weather, and basic travel use cases, CARMA Street acts as the interface between CARMA Cloud and the vehicles. It enables communication, basically enables communications between both. Right, CARMA Platform is running on the vehicle, and it's the software that basically controls the vehicle. It's built on a flexible framework built on top of ROS, which encourages modular design so that components can be easily swapped out to experiment with different combinations we developed a plugin-based architecture that enables us to quickly, swap plugins, to do different experiments. The CARMA platform allows engaging and installing and creating new plugins for planning vehicle trajectories and vehicle behavior to follow the rules, such as in a traffic control message and for other cooperative interaction between infrastructure and the vehicles, and also between vehicle to vehicle. It also allows users to install new low-level motion planning algorithms, for any, anything that's required for, for motion planning. It provides the drivers for various sensors that are installed on the vehicles. CARMA vehicles currently have a set of sensors, which you could find the details on our Confluence site, and it provides out the drivers for the LiDARs, the cameras, and the radars, and also the OBU that is installed on the vehicle. Currently, it uses the OBUs for communication with the infrastructure and between vehicle to vehicle. So the next CARMA product is the CARMA Messenger. CARMA Messenger is a flavor of, is another vehicle-based platform, but for vehicles that are manually driven, and it basically enables communication of between manually driven vehicles and ADS vehicles. So it in our TIM use case, we have a vehicle broadcasting an infield geofence, to close a lane. You'll see, that presented. So it is later on in this presentation. So it's used in those use cases. Finally, CARMA Analytics is, I've touched on this before. We developed a cloud-based data lake for analyzing the data that's collected from the CARMA vehicles to evaluate, performance of the algorithms that we are researching. So, coming back, coming to the CARMA 3 project overview and objectives, the three use cases that we're going to present today were part of the CARMA 3 project, which, the objective of the CARMA 3 projects was to test arbitration and negotiation strategies applied, to enhance infrastructures, efficiency and ultimately reduce traffic congestion. So we basically developed the CARMA platform that is basically the bedrock of the CARMA program under this project, and we developed proof of concept applications to investigate, to research DISMO strategies such as TIM, basic travel, weather, and work zone. We've completed implementation of a basic of TIM, weather, and basic travel at this time, and we are working on work zone. We've completed verification testing of the three of actually we completed verification of the testing of 2 use cases, and we're working on the 3rd one. So we'll be presenting those results next. Okay, with that, I would like to turn over to May, who will present the scenarios that we implemented for TIM and weather. May?
Hi, thanks, Sudhakar. Hi, I'm May Fromm. I'm one of the senior developers or engineers with STOL, the Saxon Laboratory at the TFHRC. I'll be presenting the TIM and road weather, like Sudhakar said. So for TIM,
TIM framework, this slide is basically just mentioning that the TMS activities and the traffic management centers that typically perform during the incidents and other non-recurring unplanned anomalies is what is showing here. And we've basically taken the use case that we've taken. So the next slide basically shows the TIM operational actions that are more traditional in terms of detecting, notifying, and advising in terms of dispatching first responders and being able to respond and manage the roadside activities that are happening at the current incident. The way that we've done our TIM use case is by updating the CARMA platform and CARMA Messenger app that we've developed thus far is to include the lane change with unobstructed lane change, and then being able to update the CARMA Messenger to be able to identify what the incident use case is all about. For this, for the TIM use case, we've concentrated on the move over law. So once the emergency vehicle that's situated at the incident is able to basically enter the reason for the event and the necessary information such as the speed limit and the gap that is required for the vehicles to follow. So in this scenario that we have here that we were able to implement, it includes a first responder vehicle that is equipped with an OBU and Linux PC where we installed the CARMA Messenger. So with that application, it can broadcast out the incident, particularly the move over law, with the specific information such as the distance from the geofence, how far away the geofence is, and also the minimum gap which the vehicles can trap, that the vehicles follow in between them. And then the last one, which is the one that we've implemented, is the advisory speed, which is the recommended speed within the geofence. So with this setup, we have a CARMA vehicle at the right side with a Tahoe parked. Our Tahoe is basically the emergency vehicle. It's parked on the side of the roadway with a two-lane road going the same direction. And then from there, the Tahoe will broadcast the geofence and would set a new speed limit. With our implementation, we were able to go up to 25 miles per hour, and then in the geofence, we were able to set it up down to 15 for demo purposes. And then from there, once the CARMA vehicle receives the speed adjustment from the geofence, it does a lane change to the other lane, since the geofence closest geofence is a lane closure, and then it'll continue on to the other lane and changes back again and goes back to resume its original speed. And with this, we were able to implement the geofence through a mobility message that is being broadcast to the CARMA vehicle. And for the road weather management, the operational actions are usually to detect, notify, and advise and control in terms of being able to respond to near-term predicted and current road weather conditions, and being able to treat and maintain. For our case, we basically stop at the control from the CARMA vehicle's perspective. The original scenario that was set up for this use case was involving several vehicles to travel along a two-lane roadway. And then from there, the TMS would create a geofence to transmit the information about the wet pavement or the road weather scenario. And from there, the vehicles would receive it and slow down or adjust the gap as needed. With our implementation, we were able to update and leverage what we've done with the TIM use case, where we develop cooperative lane change as well, and also adjusted the route to be able to change lanes. In addition, there was also additional components not mentioned here, such as the CARMA Cloud that we've updated to be able to set these types of controls from the weather's perspective. So in CARMA Cloud, we've implemented an interface where the user can log in into a website and be able to declare the area of the lane that's being closed and the reason for its closure. And then from there, the CARMA Cloud would actually broadcast that back to the V2X Hub application and send it back to the RSU, then back down to the CARMA vehicle. So this is our implementation that we've just completed this past month. So with a geofence of sample black ice here, we were able to create the geofence from CARMA Cloud and set that lane, that one lane closed, and set the speed limit to 25 miles per hour, 15 miles per hour, similar to the TIM. And then it does the same thing as what we had on the TIM, where it does the lane change and slowly changes to the new speed limit and then changes back to resume the original speed. So what you're not seeing here is that is the implementation where we had CARMA Cloud setting that control on the CARMA Cloud side and setting the speed limit and then communicating it back to the V2X Hub application and to the RSU trailer that we have put on the test facility. And from the RSU trailer, it actually communicates it back to the CARMA vehicle. And we were able to successfully do that this past month. So if you have any questions, please just put it on the chat box. I think Sudhakar's responding. So Sudhakar, I think you'll take on the basic travel from here.
All right, thank you, May. Yeah, so as I said, so we basically finished testing of the TIM and weather use cases, and we are currently testing basic travel use case. Basic travel use case focused towards in the traffic research track. It's focused towards recurring activities that TMCs deal with, like congestion. So these are anything that happens, during normal operations when there are no incidents or events or other anomalies. The use case that we're working is a ramp merge and then platooning and a speed advisory slowdown. In addition to that use case, we are currently working on additional use cases, for in the research track, for implementing arterial based TISMO strategies, like CARMA vehicles working with both fixed timing and actuated signal controllers using SPAT messages. We're working on use cases for transit signal priority, emergency vehicle preemption. and such. So the basic scenario that was picked for basic travel was, as I said, a ramp merge. The vehicle, a CARMA vehicle would be traveling on the main lane, and another CARMA vehicle would come from the ramp and negotiate to merge with the vehicle that's on the main lane. So the scenario that we try and implement, as I said, it involves here, I think there's a typo here. It involves CARMA Cloud and CARMA Platform, not CARMA Messenger. That's a typo. So the features that we're basically trying to demonstrate are cooperative lane change, unobstructed lane merge, which is basically CARMA Platform, is planning a smooth lateral motion from the ramp onto the main lane on the highway, with the other, negotiating with other vehicles that are in its trajectories. Once it does the cooperative lane change, the vehicles platoon and demonstrate the cooperative lane follow using the all predecessor following platooning algorithm. So as I mentioned, you have a CARMA vehicle that is traveling, on the main lane, and another CARMA vehicle is approaching on the ramp, to merge onto the main lane. It detects the vehicle, the other CARMA vehicle, using its mobility operations in a mobility path, and it's able to negotiate and merge onto the freeway, using an unobstructed lane merge feature. So once it merges onto the freeway, the front vehicle starts a platoon. It starts a platoon, and the vehicles exchange requests to each other, and other vehicles join the platoon, and then the lead vehicle basically sets the speed at which the platoon is traveling, and the gap that the vehicles need to use in the platoon. So the next scenario that we're trying to demonstrate is broadcasting a speed advisory from CARMA Cloud to slow down, the platoon. So the
We'll be moving on to more use cases that involve intersections and involve further improving
your microphone has been turned
stay tuned
on.
for that, and I'm sure we'll be having more webinars about that.
All right, here are some links, that would be useful if you, want to check out the work that we are doing. please check out our FHWA site to understand the program, GitHub site to for the open source code, Confluence site for documentation, and the ROS discourse to engage with technical discussion with our group. Okay, so with that, I will open up the line for questions and answers.
Great. Yeah, like Sudhakar said, we'll open up the floor now for your questions. So feel free to keep typing your questions in the chat pod. We have some already in there, so we can start with addressing those for the whole group in case anybody missed it in the chat pod. So our first question is, what components does CARMA Messenger require in the vehicle?
So in order to run CARMA Messenger in a vehicle, as I said, it's a manually driven vehicle. So all we need is a Linux computer to run CARMA Messenger on, an OBU to broadcast the messages, and a GPS unit, basically to get for us to be able to broadcast the location of that vehicle.
Great. Next question, how large is the PDU that you're broadcasting in the TIM scenario, and also how large did you make the TIM geofence?
So PDU, I haven't really checked the size of the message. Are we reaching the limits of the DSRC message?
No, I don't think we've run into that issue before. It was more of the message content that we had to sort out with.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of the geofence size, it is configurable via the CARMA Messenger UI. Basically define the upstream and downstream size of the geofence with respect to the vehicle. So, the broadcast message has the location of the vehicle, the upstream distance, and the downstream distance, and the speed, that the vehicle should follow, and the gap.
Okay. Our next question is, most, if not all, of the move over laws are actually move over or slowed down if you're unable to move over. So will this use case allow a vehicle to slow down, or does it have to move over?
So as implemented, the use case will, we have programmed move over and slow down. But, I think, we could broadcast a speed advisory from CARMA Cloud just for the vehicles to slow down. Yeah, the way that we've implemented the scenario is move over and slow down.
Great. I think we have another question for clarification on our last question. This was actually in relation to the number of bytes per message, I think either for the geofence or for the PDU.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. We could get back to you on that. I don't have that information handy.
Okay. And our next question, how reliable is the detection of black ice being only on one lane, and who deals with the liability if the information is not accurate and it covers both lanes?
So for our experiment, we manually entered that information. We are primarily trying to demonstrate the concept of the CARMA vehicle receiving a lane status message, with the closed status. It happened to be because of black ice, but we're not looking into the liability or those kind of information in our program.
Yeah, so I'm just going to add on to that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, so the black ice is as Sudhakar was saying, it's kind of outside the scope of what we're doing. That's just an example. It could be many reasons why CARMA Cloud would want to tell us to move out of the way. It could be flooding, or it could be a number of other reasons. And so the bigger point is the fact that once we do locate that we shouldn't be in a particular lane, the fact that CARMA Cloud has the ability to tell us to avoid that. Now, in future use cases, or future projects, we might be actually having features to identify, maybe downstream vehicles who have already passed this area, that they can identify whether it's black ice or flooding or anything else, maybe a huge pothole even, that's there, and therefore we shouldn't go there. But for the time being, the main thing that's being focused on is that other piece. Once we've identified whatever's there, how do we actually get vehicles upstream to take account of that?
Great, thank you, Pavle. Well, I don't see any more questions coming through, so I'd like to say thank you to all of our presenters today, and thank you all for attending this CARMA webinar. And if you do think of any more questions or comments, we'd love to hear about them. So please do not hesitate to email us at karma@dot.gov, and keep an eye out for information about our next CARMA webinar. So I will hand it back to Nilu for some final comments.
Thank you, Nicole. I would just echo what was shared by Nicole, that appreciate the speakers that were able to share their info, as well as you all attending and all your great questions. And like I mentioned at the beginning, we are sharing the recorded video of this webinar on the NOCO website within the next few days. And with that, thank you all for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.